The Wendigo's hunger. The wind howled through the Appalachian Mountains, a mournful wail that rattled the frost-crusted windows of Elias Kane's winter cabin. Snow piled high against the walls, burying the world in white, and the cold seeped through the logs despite the fire crackling in the hearth. Elias sat at a scarred wooden table, his hands steady as he cleaned his 6.5 Grendel AR-15, the rifle's matte black finish glinting in the lantern light. Beside it lay his tools for the night, a stack of road flares, a night vision scope clipped to the barrel, a hunting knife with a worn leather grip, and a thermos of black coffee, his last comforts in a world gone mad. He was alone now, and had been since the Wendigo took everything from him. 2 months earlier, Elias had left for a supply run to the nearest town, a 3-hour trek down icy roads. He'd returned to a nightmare, the cabin door hanging off its hinges, blood smeared across the floor like spilled paint, and claw marks, long, deep, inhuman, gouged into the walls. His wife, Mara, and their daughters, Lily and Grace, were gone. No bodies, just the blood and those marks. The old-timers in town, with their weathered faces and hushed voices, spoke of the Wendigo, a spirit of famine and greed, a creature that devoured flesh and mocked the living with their stolen voices. Elias hadn't believed the stories then. He did now. Since that day, he'd tracked it. He learned its signs, the stench of rot that lingered in the air, the too perfect tracks in the snow, the way it mimicked cries for help. Tonight, under a sky so dark the stars seemed swallowed, he'd end it. He strapped on his parka, the fabric stiff with cold, and tucked the flares into a satchel. The night vision scope hummed as he powered it on, casting the cabin in a faint green glow through its lens. His truck waited a half-mile away, parked off a logging trail, a lifeline if the hunt went wrong. With a final glance at the photo of his family pinned above the fireplace, Elias stepped into the frozen dark. The snow crunched under his boots, each step a deliberate push against the wind's bite. The forest loomed around him, pines bowing under their snowy burden, branches snapping like brittle bones. He moved slowly, tracking the faint claw marks on tree trunks, the occasional smear of blood frozen into the bark. Hours passed, his breath fogging in rhythmic bursts, until a sound stopped him cold, a low, guttural moan, rising into a scream that sounded too much like Mara calling his name. His chest tightened, but he shook it off. It was the Wendigo's trick, a lure to draw him in. He raised the rifle, peering through the scope, and there it was. At the edge of a ravine, hunched over a mangled deer, stood the creature. It was taller than any man, its frame skeletal yet impossibly strong, skin stretched tight over jagged bones. Antlers, twisted and sharp, crowned its head, and its eyes burned like coals in the night vision's green haze. Its claws tore into the deer, teeth glinting as it fed. Elias steadied his breathing, finger brushing the trigger. This was it, the monster that stole his life. A twig snapped behind him. He spun, and dread flooded his veins. 2 more Wendigos emerged from the shadows, their emaciated forms scuttling forward, jaws unhinged to reveal rows of needle-like teeth. 3 of them. Not one, but a pack. His mind raced, legends never spoke of this, never warned of multiples. The first Wendigo lifted its head, locking eyes with him, and let out a shriek that split the night. Elias fired, the 6.5 Grendel's bark echoing off the ridges. The round punched through the feeding Wendigo's chest, black blood spraying the snow, but it only staggered, not fell. The others charged. He ran, boots slipping in the snow, heart hammering as branches clawed at his face. The truck was his only hope. The Wendigo's cries, now Lily's voice, now Grace's, chased him, a chorus of torment. He reached the clearing where he'd parked, skidding to a halt at the sight. The truck's tires were shredded, the hood crumpled inward, claw marks raking the frame. They'd planned this, ambushed his escape. A shadow loomed to his right, and he yanked a flare from his pack, striking it alight. The red glare hissed to life, and he hurled it at the nearest Wendigo. It screeched, recoiling from the light, its flesh sizzling where the flame grazed it. Elias didn't wait, he bolted for the cabin. He crashed through the door, slamming it shut and dragging the table across to brace it. His hands shook as he reloaded, the night vision scope useless now in the tight space. The cabin shuddered as claws scraped the walls, testing the logs, and those voices, Mara begging, the girls sobbing, pierced his skull. He fired through the door, wood splintering, and a howl answered, sharp and furious. They weren't leaving. The siege began. Days bled into nights, marked only by the dimming lantern and the dwindling pile of ammo. The Wendigos circled relentlessly, their claws prying at the shutters, their weight thudding on the roof. Elias slept in snatches, jolting awake to their whispers or the crash of a loosened board. He rationed his food, canned beans and jerky, eating just enough to keep his strength. The flares became his lifeline. He'd light one and thrust it through a cracked window, buying moments of respite as the creatures shrieked and retreated from the blaze. But the stack shrank, and his hope with it. By the fourth day, exhaustion gnawed at him. He'd killed one, or thought he had, when a burst of gunfire through the roof brought a heavy thud and silence from above. But the other two persisted, their attacks growing bolder. On the fifth night, they tore a shutter free, and a claw swiped inside, inches from his face. He drove his knife into it, black ichor coating the blade, and the Wendigo withdrew with a scream. He nailed planks over the gap, hands bleeding from the effort, but the cabin felt smaller, the walls closing in. Day 6 brought a storm, snow lashing the cabin in blinding waves. The Wendigos used it, their shapes flickering in the whiteout, testing every weak point. Elias burned his last chair for warmth, the fire spitting as he sat with the rifle across his lap, listening to their claws drag across the roof. His mind frayed, the voices blending into a constant drone, his family, pleading, accusing. He whispered apologies to the empty air, vowing to fight until his last breath. On the seventh day, a new sound cut through the wind, the growl of an engine, tires crunching snow. Elias staggered to a window, peering through the frost. A park ranger's truck rolled up the path, its headlights slicing the gloom. Relief surged, then turned to ice as a Wendigo leapt from the trees, smashing into the vehicle's side. The driver's door flew open, and a young woman stumbled out, shotgun in hand, her ranger uniform dark with snow. She fired, the blast illuminating a second Wendigo lunging for her. The third joined, and her screams rang out as claws tore into her leg. Elias acted on instinct. He grabbed his final flare, kicked the door open, and charged into the storm. The flare arced through the air, striking a Wendigo's back, and flames erupted, its shrieks drowning the wind. He fired, the 6.5 Grendel dropping the second mid-leap, its body crumpling into the snow. The third turned on him, eyes blazing, but the ranger, bloodied and dazed, pumped her shotgun and blew its head apart. Elias grabbed her arm, dragging her to the truck as the burning Wendigo thrashed behind them. "Keys," he yelled, voice hoarse. She fumbled them from her pocket, hands slick with blood, and he shoved her into the passenger seat. The burning Wendigo lunged, claws raking the hood, but Elias slammed the gas, tires spinning before catching. The cabin faded in the rearview, the creature's screams swallowed by the storm. They drove in silence, the ranger clutching her torn leg, Elias gripping the wheel until his knuckles whitened. The highway emerged from the whiteout, a lifeline to civilization. "There were 3, he muttered finally, voice raw. "I thought it was just one." She nodded, wincing. "Legends say they hunt alone." "Guess the legends lied." Her breath hitched. "Name's Clara." "Thanks for that." "Elias," he said, eyes fixed on the road. He'd saved her, but the weight of his loss pressed heavier than ever. His family was still gone, their voices echoing in his mind. And somewhere in those mountains, more Wendigos might lurk, their hunger unquenched. The hunt had paused, not ended. As the truck rumbled toward safety, Elias knew he'd return, one day, with more than flares and a rifle. Next time, he'd burn the whole forest down if he had to.